Hey everyone, before you take another step in your life, ask yourself one question. Why are some people destined to rise while others stay exactly where they are? And trust me, by the time you finish this journey, you'll never look at money, discipline, or opportunity the same way again. Because what I'm about to share isn't just advice, it's a message carved into time, a message that built fortunes long before banks, apps, or trading screens ever existed. Let me take you back to a city glowing under the golden sun, Babylon, a place where wealth didn't slip through your fingers. It multiplied when you understood its laws. And today, I want to speak to you the same way I once spoke to those eager faces gathered around me. Faces filled with hunger, doubt, and hope, just like yours. If you feel like money disappears the moment it arrives, this story is about to change everything. I've seen men with great dreams but empty pockets. I've seen workers spend years sweating under the sun, yet walk home with nothing but exhaustion. And I've seen a few, just a few, learn the secrets that transform their lives forever. Those secrets are not magic, they are habits. They are decisions. They are laws that never fail. The truth is, you're not broke because life is unfair. You're broke because no one ever taught you the rules. And that's why I'm here. As we walk together through these chapters, you'll meet people who are lost, confused, stuck in the same loop you may be in right now. But something happened. A shift. A spark. One lesson, one decision, one story, and suddenly their life moved. If you've ever felt that wealth is not for people like you, listen closely. Wealth is a skill, not a blessing. This journey will give you that skill. Stay with me till the end, because the last insight of this book is the one that creates the biggest transformations. Now, let's begin our walk into Babylon, where simple truths build unshakable fortunes, and where your new financial story begins today. Chapter 1. The Man Who Desired Gold. I still remember that morning. The sun had barely risen, yet Babylon was already awake. Carts rolling, traders shouting, gold glimmering in every corner of that ancient city. And there he was, Bansir, a man whose heart carried big dreams but whose pockets carried only dust. He sat on the edge of his chariot, staring at the half-finished wheels he had crafted. But his mind was somewhere else, somewhere far beyond his daily struggle. Have you ever worked so hard, yet felt like your life isn't moving even an inch? If yes, then this chapter is your mirror. Because that morning, Bansir asked himself the same question. He looked at his hands, rough, cracked, worn by years of labor, and he whispered, almost broken, "Why do others rise, while I remain where I stood years ago?" He wasn't lazy, he wasn't foolish, he simply didn't know the rules of money. That's where his transformation began. Sometimes all it takes is one moment of frustration to rewrite your entire destiny. And Bansir's moment had arrived. As he sat there, his old childhood friend Kobi, the musician, walked up to him. Unlike Bansir, Kobi wasn't tired. He was desperate. He hadn't eaten since morning. His flute lay silent in his hands. "Bansir," he said, "why are we still poor, when we work harder than half the city?" That question sliced the air. It was the question every struggling person asks at least once in their life. If you've ever wondered why some people become wealthy while others stay stuck, you're about to hear the truth. Together they realized something powerful. They knew how to work, but they didn't know how to grow their earnings. And that single realization changed the direction of their lives. Bansir leaned forward, his voice steady. "We need guidance. We need someone who knows the art of building wealth, not just earning it." That's when Kobi's eyes lit up. He whispered one name, Arkad, the richest man in all of Babylon. A man who wasn't born into wealth. A man who started with nothing, just like them. When you study the ones who already walked the path, your journey becomes 10 times faster, the two friends decided, right then, right there. They would seek Arkad, not for gold, but for wisdom, because they finally understood gold runs toward those who understand it, and runs away from those who misuse it. As they stood up, something awakened inside them. Not hope, not excitement, but determination. the kind that turns ordinary men into legends. This chapter isn't just a story, it's a reminder. Your financial life changes the moment you decide to learn, and with that decision, Bansir and Kobi walked toward the palace of the richest man in Babylon, ready to discover the secrets that would shape their destiny forever. Chapter 2. The Richest Man in Babylon. I remember the day they came to me, two men standing at my door, not with arrogance, but with honest hunger in their eyes. Bansir, the chariot builder, Kobi, the musician. And when they spoke, I felt the weight in their voices. A weight every human being has carried at least once. We work hard, but wealth avoids us, teach us, guide us. Show us how gold can become our servant instead of our master. Their request pulled me back into my own past. Back to the days when I too stood with empty pockets and heavy dreams. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, and yet life refuses to reward you? If yes, then this chapter is your turning point. I invited them inside. As they sat before me, I didn't see two poor men. I saw two minds ready to break old patterns. And that, my friend, is where wealth always begins. Not in coins, but in consciousness. I leaned forward and asked them a question that I now ask you. If gold flowed into your hands today, would you know how to make it stay? Their silence answered everything. Wealth doesn't grow because you earn more. It grows because you learn more. I began my story. When I was young, I too worked from sunrise to sunset. My hands were rough, my wages small, my dreams huge. I envied the rich just like everyone else. But one day, I decided envy was useless. If a man knows how to build wealth, he deserves it. If I don't know, then the fault is mine, and knowledge is the cure. That single realization changed my destiny. I told them about Algamish, the wealthy moneylender, the man who gave me the advice that cracked open the door to riches. I remembered his words like they were spoken yesterday. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Simple? Yes. But most people never follow it. Most people earn, and then spend until nothing remains. I was the same, until Algamish's words struck me like lightning. Sometimes, the truth you've been missing your entire life fits inside one single sentence. I continued. When I began keeping 1/10 of everything I earned, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building my future instead of constantly repairing my present. Bansir nodded slowly. He could feel it. He could imagine it. Kobi leaned closer. His eyes sharpened like a man seeing light after years of darkness. I told them the second law I learned. Make your gold multiply. Money that sleeps is dead. Money that works is alive. When I invested my savings wisely, little drops of gold became rivers. Bansir whispered, "So that's the difference. People chase money, but you made money chase you." Exactly. When you learn to make money work for you, your life stops being a struggle and becomes a strategy. I spoke about mistakes too. The times I trusted the wrong people, invested in the wrong ideas, or acted out of impatience. Because wealth isn't a straight line. It's a journey filled with failures. Failures that become your greatest teachers. Kobi asked, "How did you stay disciplined? Didn't you ever want to spend everything you earned?" I smiled. Of course I wanted to. But every time desire whispered in my ear, I asked myself one question. Do I want this now? Or do I want freedom forever? Suddenly both men went quiet. Their eyes softened. Their posture changed. It was the look of two people hearing the truth they always needed, but never received. Your future changes the moment your mindset shifts from spending to building. I ended with the third law. Guard your wealth from loss. Because money is like a child. If you leave it unprotected, it wanders off and never returns. But if you guide it, teach it, and protect it, it grows into something powerful. Bansir finally spoke. So, wealth isn't luck, it's a skill, a discipline. I told him, it's a responsibility. When you respect money, money respects you. The richest people aren't special, they're simply consistent. When they left my home that day, they weren't the same men. Something inside them had shifted. And once a shift happens inside you, Your entire life rearranges itself around that new identity. And just like that, their journey toward wealth truly began. Chapter 3. 7 Cures for a Lean Purse. That morning, the hall of Babylon was filled. Men from every corner of the city gathered, merchants, workers, soldiers, farmers, all carrying the same silent question in their hearts: how do we stop being poor? I stepped forward and looked into their eyes, and before I spoke a single word, I told myself, these men don't need theory, they need truth, sharp, simple, unforgettable. If your earnings vanish every month and you're tired of watching your wallet shrink, these 7 cures are about to become the turning point of your life. I raised my hand, and the hall fell silent. Listen closely, I said. These are the 7 laws that transformed an ordinary man like me into the richest man in Babylon. And if you honor them, they will do the same for you. Their eyes widened. Their breathing slowed. Some leaned forward instinctively, ready to catch every drop of wisdom. I pointed toward the crowd. Your purse is empty because everything you earn, you spend. A wave of awkward laughter rippled through the hall. But starting today, I continued, you will keep 1/10 of all you earn, not for food, not for pleasure, not for bills, for you, for your future. If you don't pay yourself first, you'll spend the rest of your life paying everyone else. I saw a man in the corner shake his head. He whispered, but my expenses are already too high. I walked toward him. No, I said gently, your desires are too high. The hall went silent. Understand this, you cannot buy everything, but you can choose what matters. Wealth begins the moment you realize you don't need everything you want. I held up a gold coin. This coin is a worker. If you let it work for you, it brings back more workers. If you lock it away, it dies. I told them how my small savings grew into rivers of income because every coin I saved was sent on a mission, to return with friends. When you learn to make your money work, you'll never fear losing your job again. I warned them, do not invest your gold where your knowledge is thin. A few men lowered their heads. They had already been fooled by promises of easy riches. Seek the counsel of wise men, I said. Gold grows only under the protection of wisdom. I smiled. Paying rent forever keeps a man poor. Owning a home anchors his strength, I reminded them. A stable roof gives stability to life. I looked at the elderly men in the hall, and then at the younger ones. Your hands will not always be strong, your legs will not always be swift, but your gold, if cared for, will always remain loyal. I emphasized creating streams of income that live beyond you. If your future has no plan, it will not have security either. And finally, I told them what most people ignore. Your income can grow only as much as you grow. I urged them to learn new skills, study money, work smarter, not harder, because the greatest secret of wealth is this: your mind is the factory that produces your fortune. As I finished, the hall was no longer the same. Men weren't just listening, they were transformed. Eyes that arrived confused now glowed with clarity. Hearts that arrived fearful now beat with purpose. One young man stood and asked, will these 7 cures work for anyone? I answered with full certainty, anyone willing to practice them with discipline will rise. Wealth isn't a gift, it's a pattern. And the moment you follow the pattern, your destiny begins to change. As the crowd dispersed, I watched them walk away with new determination. And I knew, after today, Babylon would never be the same again. Chapter 4. Meet the Goddess of Good Luck. In Babylon there were many beliefs, many gods, many hopes, but nothing fascinated people more than luck, that mysterious force they believed could turn a poor man rich in a single moment. And one evening, as the setting sun painted the sky gold, a group of men gathered in the great hall. They debated, argued, and laughed about who was lucky, who wasn't, and why fortune visits some but ignores others. I sat quietly in the corner listening, until their voices grew loud enough to drown out wisdom, so I rose to speak. If you've ever blamed luck for your struggles, or waited for the right moment to change your life, then this chapter is the one you need most. The room fell silent. Men of Babylon, I said, you speak of luck as if it is a wandering bird, choosing homes at random. But luck is not a mystery. Luck is a response. They frowned, confused, and I expected that. Because most people hide their failures behind the excuse of bad luck. I decided to show them the truth through a story, the story of the gambler. There was once a man in Babylon, I began, who spent every evening at the gambling tables. He believed luck owed him a victory, and every night he returned home poorer. One man in the corner nodded painfully, but here is what he never realized. Luck does not visit those who hope. Luck visits those who act wisely. Luck is not found at the gambling table, it's found at the decision table. I continued. Another man, a farmer, worked his fields every day. One evening, he heard of an opportunity, a piece of fertile land for sale, but only for a short time. He hesitated, he doubted, he waited for a better moment, and while he waited, another farmer bought the land. That land later yielded enormous harvest, and the farmer who hesitated, he called it bad luck, but it wasn't luck he lacked. It was courage. The opportunity you ignore today becomes someone else's success tomorrow. I told the men, good luck follows action, bad luck follows delay. They leaned closer, curiosity burning in their eyes. So, I gave them another lesson. Fortune favors the man who prepares, I said. The man who studies, the man who learns, the man who grabs the chance when it appears, even if it scares him. Because most opportunities do not knock twice. They whisper once, and only the prepared hear it. Luck is never lost, it simply moves to the person who is ready. I shared another tale, the rich merchant's story. A merchant once heard of a caravan traveling west. It was dangerous, but the profits were enormous. He studied the map. He prepared. He hired guards. He strengthened his camels, and he left at sunrise. Another man laughed at him. "You're chasing luck," he said. But months later, the merchant returned with gold so heavy the camels struggled to walk. The man who laughed, he blamed bad luck for his poverty. But the truth was simple. The merchant acted. The other man avoided action. You don't need to chase luck. You need to chase readiness. I looked around the hall and said, if luck was a goddess, she would speak just one sentence. I bless the man who moves first. Late action kills fortune. Early action awakens it. Most people are not unlucky. They are simply late. The men were silent now, not with confusion, but with clarity. Their eyes reflected a truth they had long ignored. They weren't waiting for luck. Luck was waiting for them. I closed with the message I wanted carved into their hearts. Luck is not a miracle. Luck is a reward for courage, preparation, and swift action. Then I said something that echoed through Babylon. When opportunity appears, the man who hesitates loses both the moment and the years that follow. Good luck is not random. It is earned by the brave, and that night as the men walked out of the hall, I could see it in their faces. Some carried excuses, but others carried determination, and those men, the ones who acted, they became the lucky ones. Chapter 5. The 5 Laws of Gold. The night I first learned the 5 Laws of Gold, I felt as if the universe itself had opened a secret door. Not a door made of wood or stone, but a door inside my mind. A door that many men walk past their entire lives without ever knowing it exists. I want to open that same door for you today. If money slips from your hands, if wealth feels impossible, these 5 laws will change your entire relationship with gold. The hall was quiet. Every lamp flickered with a golden glow, and standing beside me was Algamish, the wise moneylender whose lessons shaped my destiny. He placed a heavy leather bag of coins at my feet. Men of Babylon, he said, every coin in this bag follows the laws I'm about to reveal. Gold obeys rules, and it punishes those who ignore them. The room leaned forward. Even the air felt tense. The first law of gold. Gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who saves at least 1/10 of his earnings. I spoke loudly. When you pay yourself first, gold begins to trust you. When you save consistently, gold walks toward you. People gasped softly, because deep down, they already knew they spent everything, and then prayed for wealth. You cannot pray for abundance while practicing poverty. The second law of gold. Gold labors diligently and multiplies for the wise owner who puts it to work. I raised a coin. This tiny circle, I said, is a worker. Send it out, and it returns with more workers. Gold grows when you invest wisely, you study before acting, you let time compound your efforts. I told them the truth. Wealth is not built by harder work. It is built by smarter use of your savings. The third law of gold. Gold clings to the protection of the cautious investor. Algamish stepped forward. Gold is loyal, he said, but it fears foolish men. Invest only where experts guide you, where experience stands firm, where knowledge protects your risk. The hall nodded, slowly understanding what they had done wrong. Your gold is not lost by thieves. It is lost by your own lack of wisdom. The fourth law of gold. Gold slips away from those who invest it in businesses or purposes they do not understand. This law hit the hall like thunder. I shared my own failure, the time I trusted a man who knew nothing about jewels, and because I trusted blindly, I paid the price. Your heart may be kind, I said, but gold does not reward kindness. Gold rewards intelligence. Never give your money to someone who cannot explain exactly how it will grow. The fifth law of gold. Gold flees the man who forces it into impossible dreams or who follows the advice of tricksters and schemers. I could feel the room tighten. Every man there had once been fooled by promises of easy money and fast wealth. There is no shortcut to riches, I said calmly. Only discipline, knowledge, and patience. Algamish raised his staff and declared, gold hates desperation, gold hates greed, gold hates impatience. And then he added, gold loves order. The moment you chase unrealistic dreams, gold turns its back on you. The lesson that changed my life. I looked at the hall, men breathing deeply, their souls wrestling with these truths. So I added the lesson that changed everything for me. You may earn much or little, you may be strong or weak, you may come from nothing, or from comfort. But the 5 laws of gold are bigger than your past, bigger than your struggles, bigger than your excuses. These laws don't care about your situation, your background, your luck, your failures. Gold follows only those who honor its rules. When you obey the laws of gold, gold obeys you. A young man stood up. If these laws are so old, he asked, why do people still remain poor? I smiled. Because the laws are simple, but human nature is not. We want pleasure today instead of security tomorrow. We want comfort instead of growth. We want luck instead of discipline. But wealth is not an emotional decision. It is a structural one. Money is not a mystery. It is a mathematician. Follow the rules, and it will never betray you. That night, as the lamps dimmed and the hall emptied, I felt a shift in the air, as if Babylon itself understood something new. And I knew, whoever walked out of that room with these 5 laws engraved in their heart would never live the same life again. Chapter 6. The Gold Lender of Babylon. There was a time in Babylon when gold didn't just sit in vaults. It moved through the hands of men, shaping destinies, building fortunes, and destroying them just as quickly. And at the center of all this movement stood Mathon, the gold lender of Babylon, a man whose wealth was legendary, but whose wisdom was even greater. I remember the day I visited him, not for gold, but for understanding. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, invested in the wrong place, or lost money because of someone's sweet promises, this chapter will hit you deep. Mathon welcomed me warmly. His home smelled of cedarwood, and scrolls filled with records lay across his table. We sat across from each other, and he placed a polished box between us. Inside it were tokens, each one representing a loan he had given over the years. Every token tells a story, he said, a story of a man's character, and how wisely or foolishly he uses gold. He handed me the first token. This belongs to a farmer, Mathon explained. He borrowed gold to buy seeds, and every year he repays on time. Why? I asked. Mathon smiled. Because he understands the seasons. He studies the soil. He knows his craft. Gold is safe with him. Because he respects it. His words struck me. Respect. Not opportunity, not luck, not desire, but respect. Gold stays with those who treat it with intelligence, not with emotion. He then handed me another token, a heavier, darker one. This, he said, is a merchant who wanted the fastest route to riches. Mathon sighed. He borrowed gold to enter a trade he knew nothing about. He trusted a stranger. He promised great profits. And, I asked. Mathon closed the box softly. He lost everything. A silence filled the room. The kind of silence that teaches more than words. Not every opportunity is an opportunity. Some are traps wearing a smile. Mathon told me of a young camel herder who dreamed of building a large herd of his own. He came to me with fire in his eyes, Mathon said. He didn't beg, he didn't boast. He brought a written plan, simple, clear, solid. Mathon funded him. And did he succeed? I asked. Mathon nodded proudly. He returned not only my gold, but the interest and gratitude. This young man became one of Babylon's respected traders, not because of gold, but because of preparation. Gold is loyal to the man who is prepared, and brutal to the one who guesses. Mathon then revealed another token, one that made him shake his head. A man once came to me, he said, with big dreams but no direction. He said, "Give me gold and I will find a way." Mathon asked him for details, a plan, a timeline, a purpose. He couldn't provide even one. Mathon refused the loan. A year later, that man was still wandering, still dreaming, still broke, because dreams without structure produce nothing but disappointment. Gold avoids people who don't know what they would do with it. Mathon leaned toward me and said something. I never forgot. Gold is like a cautious friend. Lend it only to those whose character and knowledge protect it. He added, it's never about the amount of gold. It's always about the man requesting it. His words were sharp, but true. Gold doesn't grow because you desire wealth. It grows because you make choices worthy of wealth. Your money is never at risk. Your judgment is. To end our discussion, Mathon told me of a man who borrowed gold with every intention to repay. But life turned against him. A storm destroyed his fields. His income vanished. He came to Mathon, ashamed. I cannot repay you, he said. But I will work day and night until every coin is returned. Mathon smiled. That man repaid in full, he said, not because fortune favored him, but because character favored him. And then he said a line that has stayed with me forever. Gold trusts character more than skill. If you want more money, build more character. Wealth follows integrity like shadows follow light. As I left Mathon's home that evening, I realized something powerful. Gold is not difficult to earn. Gold is not difficult to grow. Gold is only difficult to protect when you trust the wrong people or follow the wrong impulses. That night, walking through the glowing streets of Babylon, I understood that wealth isn't created by chance, but by clarity, discipline, and wise judgment. Chapter 7. The Walls of Babylon. Babylon was a city of gold, wisdom, and greatness, but none of it mattered without one thing, protection. The mighty walls of Babylon stood taller than fear, stronger than doubt, and older than the memories of those who lived inside them. And today, as I tell you this story, I want you to understand something deeply. Money is not enough. Income is not enough. Wealth is nothing, unless you protect it. You can build a fortune, but if you can't protect it, life will take it back instantly. The story begins on a night when the entire city shook. An enemy army surrounded Babylon, fierce, hungry, confident. They believed Babylon would fall within days. They laughed, mocked, celebrated early victory. But inside the city, something extraordinary was happening. No panic, no chaos, no fear, because the people trusted their walls. Walls built with purpose, with strategy, with long-term thinking, just as your financial life should be. Strength is never built in the moment of crisis. It's built long before crisis arrives. For 3 long weeks, the enemy tried everything: fire, force, threats, tricks. But Babylon stood untouched. Why? Not because the enemy was weak, but because Babylon was prepared. Preparation always wins. That is the lesson. The walls of Babylon symbolize emergency funds, insurance, risk management, wise investments, and self-control. When life attacks, your walls fight for you. Wealth is not built by chance. It is protected by design. In the end, the enemy army surrendered, not because Babylon fought harder, but because Babylon stood smarter. And that is what you must take from this chapter. Build your walls now, before the storms come. Because the moment you have strong financial walls, no crisis can shake your life again. If this chapter opened your eyes, then imagine what your life will look like when you actually apply these lessons. Here on Growthpedia Finance, I break down powerful money principles, wealth-building strategies, and financial wisdom that turns ordinary people into smart, confident investors. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, not for the algorithm, but to remind yourself that learning is the first step to growth. And if you want more chapters, more wisdom, and more financial clarity, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join our journey toward financial freedom. Your growth starts here.